Hello everyone, today we're going to be talking about the Earth Summoner and its awakened skills. So first of all, when we press K, you'll see over here that this is on the Earth spec, or basically what we call the Nature spec. So for the first skill over here, it's pretty similar to the Wind spec or the Harmony spec. It's just 10% more damage on Sunflower and 100% more damage on Rosethorn. Nothing special here. This skill is more interesting. The second skill over here is now you can use a laser beam. You can charge up solar energy and shoot out a laser beam. And it uses less focus. However, it does take a lot longer to cast than compared to the regular one. And it deals slightly less damage due to the attack speed. So I'm going to show you how to use it. With the second spec, it's quite simple. All you have to do is you left click, right click, and left click again, and you'll shoot 5 times. And you left click, right click, and right click again, you also shoot 5 times. So basically you're just using this over and over again, and while you're casting that, you can overlap it. So you can constantly be casting this laser beam looking attack, which is pretty neat. However, it's just different. And after testing out the damage between both specs, between our regular, the traditional Sunflower or the traditional Earth build, compared with this build, I ended up dealing more damage with the traditional spec. However, keep in mind that my gear is relatively bad. I only have MSP 8 piece. So as you get higher gear, it may deal more damage. I'm unable to test it on the Chinese server because my gear is simply just not good enough. So for the third spec, this is what I like to use. Basically, this allows us to deal 10% more damage with nettles, and there's a 5-second reduction on the skill itself. And this is a flat 5-second reduction, which is really nice. So this is the first bar of skills. I personally use the Nettles one or the traditional one, but I prefer to use Nettles because this one does decent damage, and it's always been a main source of damage for the Earth Summoner. As for the second bar, this is exactly the same as the Wind Summoner. You've got your regular Vine Whip, no change here. You've got your charged up Vine Whip. This one has 2 phases for Vine Whip, so I'll show you that again in case you didn't watch my Wind Summoner guide. So over here, you just hold 2 until it turns orange, and then you use that, and that's a stage 2. As for a stage 1, you just tap it, and then that's a stage 1. So this is the third skill. It does a CC. However, you need to be 10 meters away from the enemy instead of 16. So you need to be closer to the enemy. However, it is a lot wider. It's 4 meters wide instead of 2 meters wide. So here on the third bar, the first skill over here is Root. So whenever we use our, I think this skill was called Weed Whack. I'm not sure what this skill was called, but it's your one skill. So now this will be able to root if you use this spec, and your SS will be able to root as well. However, if you do not spec this, your 1 and your SS does not root. For the second spec over here, this is Cat Taunt. If you don't have this, you will not have Cat Taunt. Over here is your Tactical Roll. So again, I'll show you the Tactical Roll. It'll roll at the direction your character is facing, not where the camera angle is facing. I'm facing here and my camera's facing the boss. I will roll forward like that. So you roll a total of 8 meters, and during that 2-second duration, it is an iframe. You are invulnerable to damage, which is very nice. So out of these, I usually stick with either Cat Taunt or I use the Root skill. As for the fourth bar over here, this one's still the same. This one's just Ankle Biter. This one is just the Time Bomb. And this one is Accelerated Resurrection. When you resurrect your cat, usually there's a cast time of 5 seconds normally. However, with this skill, you will resurrect the cat in 1 second. The difference between this and the Wind build is you do not need 5 honey. In the Wind build, you needed 5 honey in order to revive the cat within 1 second. As for the Earth build, you can revive the cat whenever, which is very, very nice. For the skill over here, when you just cast your Petal Storm, you'll gain a defense buff, and that's about it. Nothing special here. Over here is it changes your Petal Storm into Petal Storm Toss, so you deal damage instead of having projectile resist. And over here is the last skill, which you guys have seen before. It's when you cast Nettles 3 times, on the 3rd cast, you'll throw a giant ball onto the enemy, and it'll roll towards them. So I'll show you that now. So it will take some time to cast because I need to cast it 3 times, but I'm going to show you here. So what you want to do is you want to pay attention to the bar over here. You can see here that I have nettles, it's 24 seconds. And then every time I cast it, there's going to be a stack on it. So we're just waiting. So you can see that I just casted it, so now it's 2 stacks. And on the 3rd stack, you're going to see that I'm going to throw a ball. So we're almost there. And here we go. Now you can see we charge up this ball and it rolls forward and deals some additional damage. So that is what the 3rd spec does. This spec of nettles does do quite a decent amount of damage. However, because it takes such a long time to charge up, it's debatable on whether it is best in slot or not. But out of the 3 specs here, I personally prefer to use Petal Storm Toss. However, this skill is pretty good if you're trying to kill a lot of stuff AoE wise, because it does roll 16 meters forward and its attack width is 4 meters wide. So this is pretty good for AoEing a lot of ads or a lot of mobs down. But that basically explains all of the skills here for the Earth spec, or what we call now the Nature spec. So personally in PvE, I prefer to use this one because 5 seconds reduced time on the nettles with the 10% damage increase is pretty nice. I still use the regular Vine Whip. Over here I use the roots because I like to root the enemy, especially useful in PvP. But in PvE it's also pretty useful to keep enemies at bay. However, if you don't have a tank, using the cat taunt would be useful. The tactical roll is useful only if you're playing with a group, because you know, having an extra 2-second iframe is a useful skill. For the CCs, I personally prefer the time bomb. However, having that 1-second cat resurrection is pretty nice, especially in raids. And over here for the last skill, I stick with Petal Storm Toss, and occasionally I might mess around with this skill with the giant nettles. But usually this is what my setup would look like for PvE. So let me just show you what it looks like on Longwei. So I'm going to do a parse on Longwei and you guys can see how it looks. So you can see here that my total damage, my parse on Longwei was about 90k. It's alright, I guess. I mean, I'm not totally happy with the damage, but keep in mind that my gear is pretty abysmal. Like, you know, I have a Tiger Bracelet stage 4, my soul is equivalent to like a Moon Water stage 5, I mean a Home Moon Soul stage 5. And yeah, my weapon as well is around a Baleful 3, so it's not a very strong loadout. However, overall I think it's alright. But that's what the basic rotation looks like for the Earth Summoner. Of course, you could try using the laser beam looking one if you want. However, I personally just think that the Nettles one is better. So that's about it for the video. I hope you found this video helpful. I personally, comparing with the Wind Summoner and the Earth Summoner, I am still leaning towards the Wind Summoner, but I've always preferred the Wind Summoner playstyle, so that's why I'm pretty biased on this. But of course, the Earth Summoner is also a very strong choice, and I feel even with the tests on the Korean servers, the Earth Summoner does still pull ahead from the Wind Summoner by around 100k DPS from like endgame gear. So there is still a difference. However, the Wind Summoner is a lot stronger than before, and especially with them fixing a lot of focus issues. However, the Earth Summoner is still the dominant element in the even after the Awakening. If you enjoyed the video, I would really appreciate a subscribe. It really does help out my channel and its growth. And I'll be doing more Class Awakening videos in the future, in the near future. Next up will be the Fire Gunner and the Shadow Gunner. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!
What can I say except you're welcome for the heals, the boosts, the